Article from the Daily Mail. Bill de Blasio suggests indoor dining won't return to New York City until there's a vaccine. The batshit crazy leftist mayor who painted the hate symbol outside of Trump Tower that said burn, loot, murder. Or no, I mean, it said Black Lives Matter. He signaled on Monday that indoor dining may still be months away from returning, despite New York City's recording a 0.59% COVID infection rate, one of the lowest since March. So this is the problem with giving the far left power. When you give them power, they don't want to give it back. They want to take more. They want to show you how good of a job they're doing. So they have to make sure everything's really strict to make sure that none of you people are out having sex on Tinder because he can't get any. And if he can't get any, you ain't getting any. So you got to shut it down. You got to shut your party down. You got to shut your sex life down. They got to make you wear a mask, muzzle your ass. So you can't have no babies because all these Democrats are up in a suicide cult. They're all convincing women you got to give up having a kid till your 30s so you could slave for Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Putin. And you need to not have babies and kill off your family line for feminism because white feminists put the white women's issues above everyone else's. That's why they call them white feminists. It's a racist form of feminism. It's very, very easy to make fun of. When you just, all you have to do to make fun of white feminism is to just bring it up and explain to people what it is. And you automatically elicit either chuckles or triggers. So, snowflakes be warned. But I don't really meet too many of these women that actually endorse it. They just don't know what they're doing. And they hear about it like, oh my God, that's so horrible. You have to look up white women sympathy tears. White women sympathy tears. All right. So here's a story from The Guardian about how white women use strategic tears to silence women of colors. And what happens is that the wham-man cannot take criticism. So the wham-man must break down crying when you criticize her. And if you criticize them at work and you're a woman of color, they will start crying and make you feel bad that you targeted them. That you targeted them because they're a woman, because they're a man. And all you have to do is just merely bring up white women's sympathy tears and white feminism. And it just elicits a long line of very entertaining, comical conversations. Some of them high flown, some of them hateful towards you. So snowflake beware. But these are the people, these white feminists, they're trying to please because this is the voting demographic of the Democratic Party. Once you understand that, you're like, all right, this is why they're covering. This is why this stuff's on the intellectual dark web. It's because when you, it's like, man, you just making this shit up, right? You're like, nah, man. They put it on the dark web because if you bring it up, people will know how bozo they are. So they don't understand that. Hold on. white women sympathy tiers, and then the voting demographics. Yeah, we cover this one on the show a lot. This Pew Research study, an examination of the 2016 based electorate based on validated voters. And this shows you the demographics of the Democrats. You can see the black women almost all vote for them, so they are the most heterodoxy groupthink, are the African American women, followed in second place by the African American men, followed in third place by the Hispanic women, followed by the Hispanic men. And so you have to understand what the Democrats do in terms of this graph. It's all based on this graph. They want to swing all of these demographics their way. And they have a different strategy to address each and every single one of them. So these people are the ones that are on the plantation because the Democrats owned slaves. They started the KKK. They opposed women's suffrage. They passed the 1994 crime bill authored by Joe Magoo Biden that created the prison industrial complex. The reason why there's so many police killings, why the black looter mob is out burning, looting, and murdering, is because of this 1994 crime bill authored by Mr. Magoo. And so they need to riot, burn our cities down, loot, murder, and they need to, in order to get that racist white man, or orange man, the Donald Trump, the one who said grab her by the pussy, the one who owns the Golden Tower. So the Ivory Tower liberals can't take how Donald Trump owns the Golden Tower and he won't sell out. He's not corrupt like Joe Magoo Biden, who got his son Hunter Biden a $1.6 billion contract from the Chinese Nazi Party, from Xi Jinping. So you think Biden is going to stick up to China? No. They're not. They're going to be in bed with China, trying to get that Xi Jinping Nazi money in order to make sure that you vote blue no matter who. And so they just take these people for granted. They own the plantation. And so there's a solution for this, is that you can walk away. Let me add some text here for you. You can do this. Just walk away from the Democrat plantation. And then you could go over to the side that's on the right side of history, where we don't sell our people out to China, and where we don't just pander to the minorities. So the Democrat strategy is we get these people to vote for us, all the minorities, because it's a smaller group of people, so it's easier to target them. And then we put them on the plantation so that they are below the Ivory Tower liberals in the pyramid. Because you have to understand the incredibly racist, brutal power structure of the Ivory Tower. And what it is that there's a power structure going up to the top of the Ivory Tower. And then there is a hierarchy that you go up. And then up here, get this lopsided, weird monster thing at the bottom. But at the bottom here, you have your Antifa. And above here, you have hood Democrats. Low income, big city liberals. And up here, you have white feminists. And then up here, you have the ivory tower liberals. Yes, this is why it's on the dark web, right? Because you call them out, you're like, all right, I see what's going on. I see what you guys got going on over here. I ain't blind. You made a racist as fuck power structure going up to the top of the ivory tower. Once you call them out, you're like, damn, y'all people be racist as fuck. And down at the bottom, you got your communists, your Antifa street kids. Up top of them, you got the hood Democrats because they're more minorities in that group. Most of the Antifa are white people. And so the hood Democrats, they are more minorities, so they get the diversity tickets. This is how you move up the pyramid of victimization in the Democrat social hierarchy. And then above them, you got the white feminists. And these are the racist feminists that put white women's issues at the top of everyone else's so they could shatter that glass ceiling. And then on top of them, you got the ivory tower liberals, ones that are in control, like Joe Mugu Biden, Xi Jinping, Putin, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, all the power players. They all up top that ivory tower, bro. Got to use math, bro. Reverse trajectory. You got to figure out where the shots were fired from, and then do your reverse trajectory to analyze where the shot came from. And then when you do that, you will see the shots came from the top of the ivory tower, going to Middle America. And what you'll see is that the evidence traces back to the Democrats, and they're pandering to minorities because they realize, well, the Hispanic minority is growing so much because of immigration. So California is a sanctuary state, so we could see here from this Migration Policy Institute chart, we could see in 1990, 13.4% of immigrant or families were born from immigrants. And in 2018, 25.9% of families were born from immigrants. So obviously, somebody's been packing into immigrants, and they don't want you to talk about it. They put it on the dark web. So I got it up off the dark web, the real news. And then what you start to see is there's like a clear pattern from what these people are doing. That is this article, A Changing Nation, Population Projections Under Alternative Immigration Scenarios from the Census, shows that our proposed in Figure 1, U.S. population 1900 to 2060, and projected populations 2070 to 2060 by immigration scenarios, if we cut off immigration entirely, our population shrinks. If we have a low immigration scenario, goes up to 376.2 million. It's a lot of people. It's like another massive state. That's like, we're 330, so that's like 46 million people. That's like 10 times the size of my state. Then the Democrats want the high immigration scenario, the 446.9 million people, where we just continue on into this oblivion of global warming death, so they say. So they're out protesting over the sixth mass extinction that isn't happening. What they really should be protesting over is the deforestation of the rainforest, which absolutely is happening. But as for the rest of the world, we're not having a catastrophic species collapse. It's just in the rainforest. And then you look at the graph of all the species dropping off, and you're like, okay, we got to do something to save the rainforest. This is what these people fail to understand with the Black looter mobs and with the Extinction Rebellion, are that it's much more effective to actually target one thing and get rid of it. I personally am the inventor of what is possibly the world's most efficient water heater. It's a biomimicked ice lung called the organ cooler, and it works like it breathes like a cold-blooded animal, and it heats your water in the process of extracting the solar heat from your windows and from your wastewater. And it can breathe CO2 into a grow room. It's as easy as boiling water. It's a very, very good machine. It's very simple. Nothing complicated about it. So I've looked a lot into global warming. And from what I've seen is that trying to fight the entire system as a whole is kind of a fool's errand. It's not really effective. It doesn't really get you anywhere. What you need to do is you need to target air pollution, and you need to target trying to prevent the developing world from exploding and taking out the rest of the world, because if you look at their population's exploding. Here's the UN or population projections up to 2100, which might not be the same after COVID, but this is what they were projecting last year. As 2100, I mean, the African population is just exploding. Latin America, not exploding. Going back, I mean, it's still going up, but our populations are going down. And you can see from this, you're like, okay, well, we can't just let everybody in the world move here because there's like a crazy amount of people. We don't really want to split up everything in our house in half and give half away to all these people from the developing countries. It would be much more effective for global warming if we just went with a lower immigration scenario. Right? You're like, okay, this is far right. You can't enforce immigration policies because it creates a steep social hierarchy. Like, okay. What happens if you don't enforce your immigration policy? Will your neighbors start to like move over and start annexing your land? So like it could start a war. And currently there's 5.5 million illegal immigrants from Mexico in the United States. So like 56% of the illegal immigrants. That is a standing army. That is a huge, gigantic army of people. If we had a war with them, that would be very bad. If we had that many people from one country there, because it could happen. They could just annex our territory because they are big. There's 150 million people down there. They are not a small country. We probably would still beat them, but it would not. They would not just lay over, play dead. They would definitely. It would be a hard fight. It would not be one that we want to fight. So it's better to just build the wall. And like I am running for president in 2024 under the campaign of Build the Moat. And I am going to build a moat across the southern border of the United States. And I'm going to fill it with snakes, lizards, or alligators, eels, piranhas, sharks with laser beams on their heads. And there's going to be lions and tigers and bears and hippos and wolves and packs of wild dogs. And then there's going to be a petting zoo where people on both sides of the borders can come, and it will be a great place for people to get to meet their people from Mexico. And it'll be a tourist attraction. We'll make money on it. It'll be the moat. We'll have some roller coasters there. So you should vote for Kayla McCullough in 2014 or 2024. Sorry, I'm trying to do something on the other monitor. I'm messing up. So why am I getting into this? Because they're talking about what? What was the article about? Went off about immigration for some reason. Oh, the Democrats are supporting that. So this is what they want to do. They want to put a mask on you. They want to replace you with immigrants. You can't say anything because they've rigged Wikipedia, and anybody who argues against them, you're far right, and you're going to call you a Nazi, and then they're going to send a black looter mob after you to burn your house down and kill you and your family. And they say if you don't give them everything we want, they're going to burn your cities down, loot and murder. And then they want us to vote for them. It's like parallel universe. I just don't understand exactly what is going on in these people's heads. It's like they have been eating too many antidepressants, and they've lost complete touch with reality, and they have absolutely no idea that everything they do is just like absolutely bullshit. And so it's just something you have to call out when you see it. You know, you gotta call out bad behavior when you see it, because there'll be bad behavior from the left and from the right throughout times. There's no actual way that you can actually get rid of all of the bad behavior in the entire world. It would be a little bit silly to think that you could actually do that. But the best thing that you can do is that you can minimize the chance that you're going to have these bozos in your life. And the way that you go about doing that is you make smaller government, and you make it so that these bozos have less power, so that they can't completely bozo all the time. Because if you let these people bozo everything, they will continue to just be a straight up bozo. I mean, I know this is completely fucking obvious, right? But if you really want these bozos to not be in control, you can't continue voting for Democrats, because they've just gone straight up bozo. Straight up brozo. Like they're believing so much fake news because they don't fact check. They don't realize these ivory tower liberal journalists are putting out a whole bunch of fake news from they're putting out all kinds of fake news, and that these ivory tower liberal journalists are just trying to be the first people to report on the story. They don't get all the facts straight, and they don't tell you all the details of the story, and they put the details behind where you click, because they can't tell you the whole story or you won't click. They need you to click on the story. They need you to watch the ads, buy the product, and then vote for them, because they're attention whores. And if you don't, then they'll get all kinds of anxiety, because they're used to people just pumping that like button, and they need to get that next hit of dopamine. If they don't get that next hit of dopamine, they're going to be fiending, and they're going to start jonesing, and they're going to turn into gremlins if you feed them after midnight. So this is what happens when you vote for Democrats. You're feeding the gremlins, and then they are probably going to be coming after you. And then there's absolutely nothing that you can do because you voted them into office. And the only way to undo their damage is by coordinating enough people that you could probably change the U.S. Constitution with the amount of people that you need to coordinate to stop them. So you must avoid the slippery slope down the road to authoritarianism, because it is indeed a fucked up, bumpy road with a bunch of bullshit. And we just probably should not be trusting our families' lives in the hands of such bozos. Because these people just keep bozoing like things left after right. For example, here in the next article from the Daily Mail, how virus proof, here, I'm going to put a link to the next video, but I want to make this its own video because there's important things to cover on the mask.